Go.
Welcome. The December 2nd meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is called to order. We will now have Pledge of Allegiance. Before we do that, we're really excited about our guest speaker. So before we begin, make sure that you get a piece of paper and a pen to go along with our guest speaker. So yes, now we can have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will now have the role taken by Staff Liaison Francine Spragal.
Please say here present when I call your name. Chair Guerra,
Here.
Vice Chair Belding,
Here.
Commissioner Burt,
I don't believe he's here.
okay, is absent. Commissioner Blue,
Here.
Commissioner Janelle,
She is here.
okay,
Tricia.
Said here.
Commissioner Lowndes,
Here.
Commissioner Posta,
Here.
Commissioner Sylvester,
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Item number 4 on our agenda. This is the time in our meeting when we invite members of the public to state their concerns about senior-related issues in our city or to present items for the commission's consideration. So at this time, I don't believe that we have any cards. So we're going to move on to item number 5 on our agenda. Commissioner Bluell, can you please introduce our guest speaker for today?
I am very pleased to be able to present Carla Lagunas, a member of UCLA's staff. She's going to talk to us about combating loneliness during stressful times, which of course we're in the middle of, and what every senior needs to know. The good news is that we have a very well qualified speaker. Carla is a bilingual Spanish-speaking licensed clinical social worker at the UCLA Behavioral Health Associates in the Calabasas Clinic. She served as the adjunct lecturer at the University of Southern California in the Suzanne Dworpak School of Social Work, where she taught various courses such as an introduction to social work, with children, youth, and families, and behavioral and human behavior in the social environment. The good news is she specializes in trauma and is certified in managing adaptive practice, seeking safety, and trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, evidence-based practices. She's received her master's degree in social work from USC, a bachelor's degree with a major in psychology and social welfare from UC Berkeley, and she's terrific. She comes highly qualified, and her boss, Robbie Gluckson, who is really not her boss, but really takes good care of her and watches over her very well, so that Laura will have another opportunity to just demonstrate her skills to Robbie and the rest of us. So Carla, it's all yours.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for the warm welcome. And thank you everybody for inviting me to come and talk to you. I just want a quick check. Does my PowerPoint showing it look okay? Okay, great. So again, my name is Carla Lagunas. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work just down the street in Calabasas at our UCLA Health Clinic there. Today, we're going to talk about how do you combat loneliness during stressful times. And I think this definitely qualifies as stressful time. And I'm going to warn you, I am very, very nerdy, and I'm the kind of person that reads research articles for fun on the weekend. So if I use any language that is confusing or doesn't make sense, please ask questions at the end of the presentation. I would be happy to answer them. I'm going to do my best to try and explain things simply, but I get really excited about talking about this. So hopefully I explain things well. So today we're going to talk about attachment, which is a fancy way of talking about our need to connect. I'm going to teach you a little bit about our flight or flight response, which is what is making us feel so yucky. And that's our need to protect ourselves during times of stress. And I'm going to talk about how do these two competing interests get in our way of connecting with others, and that leads to loneliness. And then how do we overcome this? How can we meet our need to connect when we're so stressed? And then at the end of this talk, we're going to have time for question and answer. So if you have any questions, just be ready to ask towards the end. Okay, so let's start with attachment. So we start building relationships in utero. So this is known as attachment. And attachment is a biological need that we have as humans, and that's kept us safe over time. So when we were very young and in ancient times, this would have been an internal alarm system that went off when we separated from our family group that would keep us back in the camp. And so it's this physical sensation that we experience when we're separated from our loved ones. And this starts in early childhood, and it happens through this reciprocal relationship between us and our caregivers. So if you're raised by your mother, if you're raised by your father, if you're raised by another family member, your interactions with them builds your attachment, and that's the quality of your relationship. And so this happens over many, many, many interactions. It happens over you crying because you're wet, you're tired because you're crying because you're hungry, you're crying because you're tired, and then your caregivers help calm you down. And it's through these repeated these repetitions that our relationship and our trust in others is formed. So this creates different types of relationships. And this in itself is a whole field and a whole talk, but I'm really going to simplify into two main types of relationships. One is called secure attachment. And what you see in secure attachment is you have caregivers who are loving and attentive. They notice when you're upset, they notice when you're hungry, they notice when you're angry, and they help calm you down. They kind of act as your brain for you when your brain is not developed. And what this does is this allows you to feel secure in your relationship and secure in yourself. And this allows you to explore the world. So what you'll see with little toddlers is that when they go somewhere new, you'll see them clinging to their parents. And then once they relax a little bit and feel more secure, they'll go explore the room. And this is what you want to see. However, unfortunately, we don't all have those experiences for a variety of reasons. Sometimes we have caregivers that aren't there. Maybe they're not available for many different reasons. Sometimes we have caregivers that are inconsistent. So sometimes they're loving and warm, sometimes they're not there, sometimes they're angry and scary. And so what this does is it creates what's called an insecure attachment. And insecure attachment is even when you're with your loved one, you don't feel this trust and you don't feel this safety. And so it creates this push-pull dynamic. So what'll happen is maybe you'll be very clingy and you'll be pulling and wanting to get attention. And even when you're with this person, you're not feeling relaxed and calm so you can explore the world. Or the opposite might happen. You might be avoiding, you might be pushing these people away so they're not close to you. And so even when you're with someone, it doesn't feel good. You don't get that pleasurable response. And this push-pull can flip. So sometimes you might be the one pushing, sometimes you might be the one pulling away. And so because of this, these relationship types get reenacted throughout our lifetime. So you might start with this in childhood, and then you might reenact these relationships in your life over time. So why do I bring this up? Because relationships are important. Relationships actually impact your health. This is research, I'm going to give this caveat that this is research that was done in 2017. So this is even before the pandemic. But looking at loneliness, they found that loneliness raised the risk of premature death as much as smoking or obesity, that it was equivalent to smoking more than 15 cigarettes in a day. They found that loneliness increases your risk of depression, of cognitive decline, of dementia, and it's widespread. 43% of seniors reported feeling lonely on a regular basis. I'm going to guess that right now with the pandemic, it's probably doubled easily. So not only is this bad for your physical health, but it's bad for your emotional health and your social health. And it's not just you. This loneliness epidemic is widespread. Americans of all age groups are reporting that they are feeling lonely, they're feeling socially isolated, and that their relationships are not meaningful. And so we have a lot of people out there who feel like they don't have anyone at all sorts of different ages. So it's important to know that you're not alone, but that you should do something about it. So let me talk a little bit about another biological process that we have, and that's our fight or flight response. And that's our body's need to protect in times of stress. I warned you already that I'm very nerdy, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the brain. So if you can imagine that my hand is your brain, this front part is your frontal lobe. That's this part right here. This is your personality, your intelligence. And if you were to lift up where my thumb is, this is your limbic system. Your hypothalamus is here, your pituitary gland is here, and it connects to your adrenal gland. And this is your body's stress alarm. So when you experience any kind of stress, it doesn't have to happen to you. It can also happen to someone you care about. This system goes off like an alarm. And when this alarm goes off, it releases a bunch of stress hormones. It releases adrenaline or epinephrine, cortisol, and this creates a lot of physical sensations. And this is known as, and you can respond in a bunch of different ways, but probably the most common way is this fight or flight response. So you can become angry and ready to fight someone, or you can become scared and ready to take off. Women also have this response called tend and befriend, where they get a chemical reward in their brain for taking care of others in times of stress. There's also a freeze response, where you will just collapse. And some people will even seem as if they're asleep or not even there. So there's a wide amount of reaction when these stressors are happening. There's also different kinds of stress. So an acute stressor is the stressor that happens one time. Maybe you were in a car accident, maybe you had a traumatic loss. And chronic stress is when you have repeated stress over a long period of time. Maybe it's abuse, maybe it's ongoing violence, maybe it's a chronic illness, maybe it's a pandemic. And so something that's important to know about this research is that stress is more harmful when it is unpredictable, when there is no time limit, and when you lack support. And so really right here, you can see the importance of combating loneliness, because from a brain level, right, from a very core level, this can have really harmful effects. So what do these things do? I told you about these stress symptoms that are happening. What happens when all these chemicals are rushing through your body? Well, one thing that can happen is you can experience a range of emotions. Many people will feel anxious, afraid, angry, irritable. You might be impacted by your sleeping or eating. Cortisol is involved in regulating your blood sugar levels. It also helps regulating your sleep. So if you have elevated levels of cortisol, it's actually going to impact your ability to go to sleep. It's going to be harder to go to sleep. You're going to wake up more often. It's going to be harder to go back to sleep. It can also impact your appetite. So maybe you might have noticed that since the pandemic has started, you might have gained weight. I know I did. You might have lost weight. And this is without intending to. Another common symptom is difficulty concentrating. So what does that mean? Maybe you used to love watching movies and now you can't get through a movie. You just get distracted and you can't finish it, or you lose track of what's happening. Maybe you're reading the newspaper and you're having a hard time tracking what's happening in the newspaper, or reading a book. Another common symptom is muscle tension. So a lot of people will be complaining about maybe neck pain, back pain, leg pain, different kinds of pains. And this is because one of the fight or flight responses is it gets your muscles tense, ready to fight danger. But your brain doesn't know that you don't literally have to fight someone, but it's preparing as if you were going to fight someone. Headaches is another common symptom as well. Restlessness is very common. So you might notice that you're getting up a lot. Maybe you're cleaning a lot, cleaning more than you used to. And not just because you're afraid of getting COVID, but maybe you're just cleaning a lot because you can't sit still. A lot of people experience heart palpitations. And these can get so extreme that some people will go to the emergency room because they think they're having a heart attack. That's really common. Digestive issues. So one of the things that happens during the stress response is that your stomach stops digesting. So a lot of people will have chronic stomach pain, and you can also experience chest tightness and feeling like you can't breathe. And if you have any existing health conditions, let's say you had diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all the stress actually makes it worse. And so because all of these things feel really uncomfortable, people cope with it by not wanting to feel these things. And so they try to cope with it by numbing themselves. How do they numb themselves? We're seeing increases in nicotine use and alcohol use, marijuana use, and other drugs. A lot of people are using prescription drugs for non-prescription services, and those have long-term health consequences, and those make any existing problems worse. Okay, so what does this have to do with loneliness, right? How does this get in the way? Let me explain it. So what happens with human beings is we get in this cycle of anxiety. So I am going to, okay, the way that you read this chart is you start with an anxiety picture, right? And anxiety is these uncomfortable feelings I'm talking about, all these stress symptoms, and they feel terrible. Nobody likes to feel these anxieties. And so very naturally you avoid it. So right now, a lot of people are developing anxiety about physically being with other people because they have a lot of fear of getting COVID. So they're avoiding other people. They're not talking to other people. They're not leaving their homes. And so that'll create a temporary relief. Okay, I didn't address this thing that I'm afraid of. Now I'm not going to feel uncomfortable. I feel better. But it doesn't target the underlying issue, which is the anxiety. So what it ends up doing is making the anxiety even worse. So it's one of the things that I see is like maybe at first you were not going to social gatherings, and then it turns into, well, now I'm not going to go to the grocery store. I'm just going to do grocery delivery. And then it turns into, well, I'm not going to the doctor anymore. And then I'm not leaving my house. So anxiety can snowball, and that will really exacerbate your loneliness because your brain is giving you an excuse not to be with other people, even when you have these opportunities because of this snowball effect from this anxiety. Another thing that happens is that we are neurobiologically wired to seek our caregiver reactions in times of stress. So what does that mean? That means if you had a mother or father who was abusive, then you are going to reenact those relationships in adulthood. So maybe you've always had great relationships and all of a sudden you're noticing like maybe you're fighting with your partners, you're fighting with your friends, you're not talking to people anymore. This is something that could be happening. Or the opposite, like maybe you had a caregiver who wasn't present and was detached. And so maybe you're feeling like you're not close to anyone. And so you're having trouble attaching to people. Again, trauma has a big impact on our ability to read social cues. And so what happens is that when we have traumatic events, maybe something bad has happened to us in the past, and with the pandemic, our fight or flight is getting activated, we're going to misinterpret cues. So what that means is that we're not going to be able to see the world as it really is. So maybe we see somebody at the grocery store that we know, and we wave and we say hi and they don't respond. Well, if you're feeling calm and happy, your thought might be, oh, they didn't see me. I better say hi again. But if your fight or flight is activated, you might be thinking, oh, they're angry with me. Well, now I'm angry with them and I'm not going to talk to them anymore. So it really impacts the way that you see the world and what you do. And that also impacts your feelings. So what do we do? How do we combat this, right? We have all this going on. We have all these chemicals going on in our body, and we have all these worries in our head. We have these environmental stressors. Well, what do we do? Because we want to connect. We need this connection. Well, I propose that we attack this from 3 ways. One is to change the way we think about our relationships. 2, to support and maintain our existing relationships. And 3, to build new relationships. So one of the things that's important to do now that you're aware of all these systems and all these processes that are happening in our body because of our stress, I want you to focus on what you can control. You control what you focus on. You control what you're thinking about. Your emotions are contagious. So if you're feeling angry or sad, you're going to spread that to other people and they're not going to want to be around you, right? Or they will also act angry and sad. So the way that you think influences the way that you feel and it influences what you do, right? And all of this is connected. So focus on what you can control. You control what you do. A really great trick of handling this is practicing gratitude. Focus on things that you're grateful for. Are you grateful you have a job? Are you grateful that you're retired? Are you grateful that you have food to eat? Are you grateful that you have your health, that you're able to walk, you're able to listen? Whatever things that you're grateful for. Focus on gratitude. Focus on things that are happy. And notice if you're having any negative thoughts. If you're noticing that you're feeling sad, if you're having negative thoughts, try and change them. One of the things that you need to be aware of that happens is that because of the stress response, it's very, very common to get into these thinking traps. And the way I kind of describe them is it's almost like you're wearing blue glasses and you're seeing the world with like this blue filter. And you don't even know you're wearing these blue glasses. So when you're stressed, you might be getting into these thinking traps. So some examples are all or nothing thinking. So let's say you're going to play bridge and you invite some friends to play bridge outside, or maybe you're playing at a park somewhere, and you get 2 people to come, and the third and fourth people bow out, right? And so then your thoughts are, well, now we can't play bridge. We don't have enough people to play bridge. We can't play anymore. Right? Well, there's other things you can do, right? You can play another game, you can go for a walk, you can just have a conversation. There's other things that you can do, but that's an example of all or nothing thinking that that can get in the way of you socializing. Another really common thinking trap is jumping to conclusions. It's very common when you're feeling sad or stressed that you automatically assume what's going to happen. And probably the most common thing I hear is when it comes to calling family members. So all the time I will hear from people, well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to annoy them. They don't want to hear from me. But you don't know that. You do not know that. You don't know what's going to happen. And so if you jump to those conclusions and you don't contact them, you won't be able to find out what's happening. So be aware, like noticing what you believe is going to happen. What do you think would happen if you called that family member, or if you sent them a text message or wrote them a letter? Magnification is another common thinking trap, where if you make a mistake, you really fixate on it and you blow it up and you make it bigger than it really is. And then minimization is another thinking trap, where maybe you've been really amazing. Maybe you've had a really wonderful life, a very successful career, a very successful life. But in the last few months, you haven't been doing much. And instead of looking at all the wonderful things you've done throughout your life, you're really focused on these you're really focused on the lack of doing things. And so kind of minimizing your achievements is another very common thinking trap. Okay, So we're going to bring all this together into doing a little bit of practice. So I want you to get a piece of paper and something to write with. And we're going to diagram out what relationships do you have in your life? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to want you to do is I want you to write your name in the middle of the paper. So I'm going to write my name, Carla. I'm going to draw a circle around it. And what this circle represents are people that are closest to me. And then I'm going to draw another concentric circle around it. And another one. Okay. So yours should look like this. And what this represents is something called a closeness circle. And in a closeness circle, the space between each circle represents the difference in closeness in your relationship. So as I move forward, I want you to write down any names, and let's be specific as you can be, of people that come up to you, that come up in your thoughts as I discuss different types of relationships. Because a lot of times we'll hold ourselves with a lot of judgment if we're not having huge parties for Thanksgiving or huge celebrations or going out every day. But we'll often overlook the people that are in our lives every day. And so this is kind of a way of challenging and noticing if we're having any thinking traps. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some types of social needs. And so if you can think of anybody that meets these social needs, just write their name. And write their name in relation to how close they are to you. So if it's your best friend or someone that you see very regularly or is close to your heart, put them in the middle. If it's somebody that you would like to see, but that is not somebody that you would invite at Thanksgiving, maybe put them in the middle. Or if it's somebody that's like an acquaintance that you're on friendly terms with, put them in the outside circle. And so try to write as many names as you can. So different types of social needs are to connect with like-minded people who share something with us. So think about, is there anybody you talk about books with, music, reading the news, drawing, art? How about to share emotional intimacy? Who do you call when you're having a bad day? Who do you think of when you want to tell about a success? To feel heard, understood, and supported. Maybe you have a problem. Maybe you just want to vent. To be treated with respect. To give and receive love and affection. Who do you want to hug? Who do you want to hold hands with? All right. Now I'm going to bring up some different types of relationships and the types of support we receive in relationships. So who knows what is going on for you? Maybe you're in assisted living. Is there staff there that really knows you and really gets you and knows your interests and knows your likes? Who helps to keep your routines going? Who gets you on track? Is somebody helping you with your medication? Is somebody helping you manage your household? Who can you tolerate or even enjoy spending time with? Who are the experts who can help when you need it? Do you have a favorite physician that you like to work with? Maybe you have a therapist that you're working with. Maybe you have another healthcare professional that you enjoy, a physical therapist, personal trainer. And who really wants you to feel better and tries to help? Maybe your neighbors are really concerned about you. Maybe they always stop by and check and see how you're doing. Are these friends in your life that want to make sure that you're okay? Maybe it's people that you live with. Maybe it's people you used to live with. Okay, now I want you to think about the quality of support in your relationships. So write down, how easy is it to get at the support that is available? Are there people in your lives that you can pick up the phone and they answer right away? Are there other people maybe that are very busy? And so when you get a chance to see them, you can talk to them, but it's really hard to get a hold of them. Can you ask for what you need when you need it? Are there any downsides to getting what you need from the people around you? Maybe you really want to get support from somebody, but they're just not available for any reason. Now, something I want to think about, like looking at your closeness circle, is this enough for you? Maybe you're identifying a need that you have and think about, do you have a backup if the first person you go to isn't available? Maybe what would you do if you got a flat tire? Who would you call? If they weren't available, do you have a backup? How well does the give and take work in your relationships? Is there somebody who's calling you all the time who wants to spend time with you that is inviting you out and maybe you're not calling them back? Are there people that are reaching out to you that you're not following up with? Okay. So hopefully now with your closeness circle, you have a list of people that you could think about, and the people that are going to be closer to you are not going to need as much work as the people outside. But just because they're not as close to you as you want in your closeness circle doesn't mean that needs to be permanent. So let's talk about some ways to improve these relationships. How do you move them closer to you? Or how do you meet somebody new so you can add people to your circles? Mindful listening is a strategy where you give the speaker your attention, you remove distractions, and this is a big one. And this used to be something that I would only tell teenagers about, but now I'm seeing everybody doing this. Our phones is such a big distraction, huge distraction. It is very, very disruptive if you're on your phone while someone is talking to you. It is very, very disruptive if you're reading the newspaper while someone is talking to you, if you're fumbling through your purse. Body language matters. So getting rid of any distractions is really important. It's really interesting. There's actually research that shows that spending time with someone else actually can improve your enjoyment. So if you're eating something, it's a more enjoyable experience if you're with someone else. But if they are distracted, it actually takes away your enjoyment. So if you're watching TV with someone and they're on their phone, it's actually going to interfere with your enjoyment of what you're watching, even though you're not the one looking at your phone. So make sure you're removing any distractions, right? Be mindful of what's happening. Another thing to notice is noticing what's happening with your thoughts. What are you thinking about? Are you really invested in this conversation? Are you thinking about what you're going to make for dinner? Are you thinking about forgetting to pay a bill? And if you're noticing that your mind is wandering, bring it back, right? Try to bring your mind back and focusing on what is the person talking to you saying. And pause your tasks and really listen to them. Because I talked about how the way we see the world can really impact the way we feel and what we do, you really want to check your perceptions to make sure that you're accurate. You want to ask clarifying and probing questions to make sure your interpretations are accurate. So it's very common for people to misread how another person is feeling. And so you should ask about it. Hey, I noticed you changed the subject pretty quickly. Could you tell me what you were thinking? Oh, I texted you last week and you didn't respond. Is anything going on? I noticed that you've turned down when I've invited you to dinner 4 times in a row. Do you still want to be my friend? Right? So asking what your interpretations are is going to be very, very important, especially if you're noticing that your interpretation of something is negative, because this negative interpretation might just be your stress response going. It might not reflect reality, but if you're behaving as if your perception is real, that's going to affect your relationship. Probing is a really good strategy to use. It's very similar to checking perceptions. So you want to ask questions to improve your understanding of what the other person is thinking, feeling, and needing. And really, you're listening for both the content of what they're saying, the emotions behind it, and kind of the motivation underneath it. So giving them the opportunity to express themselves, giving them the opportunity to say what's bothering them, and then try to find a common ground in which you can relate to this other person. So, for example, maybe you're speaking with somebody and they're complaining about work stress. They're talking about having problems with their boss. You might ask, "You're having problems with your boss. How come?" And then you could maybe share a time when you had a problem with your boss or you had a problem with someone else and how you resolved it, right? Sometimes you can even just reflect the feeling. You're feeling really stressed right now. You're feeling really worried right now. Another really important thing to try and do, this was really important in my field, but is listening without judging. We've been through so much stress with the election and with COVID that everybody is afraid. One of the things that has been happening is with social media, the AI has really exacerbated kind of like the extremes of opinions. And so lately, people are really becoming very judgmental coming into communication. So it's important to think about, how do you go into a relationship without being judging? How do you have an open mind? Can you be curious? Can you accept that maybe the person you're talking to is different? Maybe they have their own unique needs and experiences, and they're going to have different beliefs than you. And just honoring that fact, honoring that people are going to have different opinions and agree to disagree. People are going to have different values and beliefs. That's really going to help you in your relationships, right? Because if you're just avoiding everybody because you don't agree with the things that they are, you're going to be alone. And I think that's something that social media and the way that the algorithms are around social media, it's really amplified those things. So thinking about how do you come in and having an open mind, how do you come into a conversation and listening for what's really happening, what are they really feeling, what's behind those beliefs without jumping into what you believe. Now, I'm going to stress communication, and I stress this with everybody, but it's really important to communicate. Knowing that your loved ones are safe and cared for will reduce your stress. So use technology, right? Call people, leave them voicemails, send them videos, say hello on social media, communicate, communicate, communicate. But try to make it more active. So if you're using social media or if you see somebody putting up a post, call them, say, "Oh, I just saw what you posted on Facebook. This is really great." Or if you think of someone, write them a quick letter and send it over to them, right? Communication is really important. And one of the things that has happened with how technology is getting is because it's so easy to communicate and it's so possible to communicate with that in real time, we're really starting to lose these phone calls. With the COVID quarantine, we're losing this in-person communication, but really take advantage. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I know tons of people, everyone I'm talking to was very active at the beginning of the pandemic and would be more mindful about doing these activities. But if you're finding that you haven't spoken with your family in months, if you haven't gone on any outings, if you're not going for walks anymore, put it in your schedule, make a plan. Every Saturday at 10 a.m., I'm going to call my daughter, or every Sunday at 2 p.m., I'm going to call my grandchildren, and we're just going to say a quick hi. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you really need a schedule and you really need to plan ahead for these. But communicate, communicate, communicate. And if you're noticing that your brain is telling you reasons why you shouldn't communicate, oh, they're going to be annoyed, they're going to be too busy, they're going to be angry, whatever it is, stop and think. Is this a thinking trap? Am I jumping to conclusions? What's really going to happen? And notice, right? Notice, like maybe some of these stress responses is really getting in the way of your relationships. One of the things I personally love about this pandemic has been really getting to know my neighbors. So reach out to your neighbors. Make signs. If you don't feel comfortable talking with people in person, signs can be a really great way of communicating with people. You can write letters. So you could just write a quick note. Hi, my name is Carla. My phone number is, my email is, I live next door. Would love to trade some recipes with you. Love the color of your house. Really enjoy your tree. It's very beautiful. I like your cat. I see your cat in the window. I have a cat too. So anything, right? These relationships, they don't have to be fostered on any grand passion. It could be about anything. So start the communication. Can I help you? How are you doing? Walk by and say hi. Once you get their phone numbers, give them a call. Say, hi, how are you doing? What are you doing for dinner? Would you like to go for a walk together? Send text messages. Hi, just thinking about you. Oh, did you see that they're going to do street cleaning again? Anything, right? Sending emails, sharing things. But that's how we build new relationships, right? Especially with being around other people. We've spent so much time in our cars, we don't get as many opportunities to be around other people, but really you have to be mindful about paying attention to what you're doing in your daily life and being active and focusing on what you can control. All right, you're not going to like this because most people don't, but talk to strangers. It's very, very interesting because and they've done a lot of research looking at how does your mood get impacted by whether or not you speak with someone. And so some psychologists did a study where they looked at people who were on a train and they interviewed them after they either had a conversation or were in a quiet car, and were looking at their mood and how their mood was impacted. And one of the things that they found was that if you talked with someone on a train, you were more like, your mood ratings were higher, so you felt better. But people's prediction about it was not the same. So if you asked people, if you think you're talking to somebody, talking to a stranger on a train, will you enjoy it? Will you not enjoy it? People, hands down, always predicted that they would not enjoy it. So take advantage. Talk to strangers. Small talk is important. If you have a chance between an ATM or waiting in line at the bank, wait in line. Make eye contact, talk with the grocery store clerk, look at them, make a joke, ask them how they're doing, ask about how their day is. Stay off your phone. We're wasting a lot of opportunities that we used to have. If you're waiting in line and you're just looking at your phone, you're not communicating, you're not talking with other people. Maybe you're in assisted living if you're not communicating with the other residents or you're not talking with the staff. These are wasted opportunities. Another important thing is just a smile. even if you don't feel like it, even if you're wearing a mask, we can tell, people can tell. Are you smiling? Are you not smiling? You could even buy a mask. They have masks now where they have smiles printed on them. They're really cute. But smile, people will respond. And it doesn't matter if you don't know them, but this is how we make new relationships. You know, just thinking about that baby, that back and forth. Well, this is happening our entire lifespan, right? So walking by your neighbors, walking, you know, talking to the grocery clerks, all of that is going to help improve your relationships and the way you feel. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about social media, because social media can be wonderful, but it depends on what you're connecting to. And research is showing that too much exposure, especially to unreliable sources, can actually increase your stress. So something that you want to notice is, what are you subscribing to? So if you're on Facebook and you're noticing, wow, every time I'm on Facebook, I'm feeling really angry, or I'm getting upset, or I get more worried. Notice what are you looking on? Because our emotions are contagious, even online. So if you're around positive, happy people, you're going to feel more positive and happy. If you're around angry people, you're going to feel more angry and unhappy. And the same thing happens online. And this is something you have control over. So if you are subscribing to people who, or organizations that fan the flames and make you feel angry, unsubscribe. Right? Notice, what are your interests? What are some positive things that you want to connect to? I've been connecting to a lot of museums. The Hammer Museum at UCLA has been doing these online groups and classes on different art, because I love art. I just saw that the Broad Museum is going to be doing art activities on YouTube. So there's a lot of different ways of connecting on social media, and it can be really amazing and really wonderful. But you have to be active, and you have to choose, what is it that you're spending your time doing? If I'm going to spend my time looking at something that's going to cause me a lot of anxiety, that's not a good way to spend my time, because it's going to make me feel anxious and worse, and we're already dealing with enough. Another thing I'm personally doing on social media is I unsubscribe to all the news sources, so that way I choose when I read the news. So if I'm having a stressful day, I don't look at the news until I'm feeling calm. And then when I'm feeling ready, then I'll look at the news. So I subscribe to a lot of like funny animal pages and funny jokes, and art and music. So think about, like, what are your interests? And then this can be used to spark conversation. I want to highlight a website if you're not familiar with it. This is a social networking website that is not about dating. It's called meetup.com. And like I said, you know, one of the ways in which we build relationships is through common interests. And so Meetup is really great because of the pandemic, they're doing most things online, but some people have been very creative on doing them in person, but safely distanced. And they're by categories. So there's online book clubs, there's online foodie groups. When I was looking up in the Thousand Oaks area to see what they had, somebody had developed an amazing one where it was a photography scavenger hunt in a park. It looked really amazing. So if you go to this website, you can browse events by category, and you can see, like, what are your interests? What do you like? And notice what your reaction is. So if your reaction is like, I'm not going to do this because I don't like it, that's jumping to conclusions, right? So give it a shot. Try something new. You might meet someone, right? And I will admit, when I've done these myself, I like doing the hiking ones. The first time I go, I'm always very anxious. What am I going to do? What am I going to think? How are people going to react? And then the second or third time, I feel more confident, more comfortable. So the more you do something, the more you try something, the less anxiety you're going to feel. So you're going to feel better. But if you never, ever, ever do it, and you're not doing anything social, it's going to be natural to feel a lot of discomfort. And so don't be surprised if your brain comes up with a lot of excuses not to do it. So this is a really great resource I want to share, and it's free. Okay, So I've given you a lot of ideas about places to meet people, ways to meet people. Here's some strategies for some conversation starters. One thing you could do is talk about a shared experience. Wow, this line at the grocery store is so long. Or how great is it, this weather we're having today? What's been the highlight of your week so far? What are you enjoying about your life right now? What are you looking forward to in the future? Right? So think about what are some things that you can say when you do have the opportunity and you're running into people. Something else. I'm a therapist, so I have to, I always think about the mental health side. But something else that you can do is think about participating in a therapy group. So there's all sorts of different therapy groups. And because we're in near such a big city, we have access to tons of therapy groups. There is this website, it's called thegrouplist.org, and it is curated by a licensed psychologist who curates a huge list of therapy groups. And I'm going to explain what some of the terms are so you can go on yourself and explore. So therapy groups can be supportive. So what that means is that people are getting together and talking to each other around a shared issue. They can be therapeutic. It could be targeting something with mental health. It could be process. It could be around bonding or working out through your relationships. It could be educational, which is learning through something, or consultative, talking about problem or an issue you're having. Therapy groups can be open, which means anybody can join. They are not, there's no end. It's just, it happens every week at X time, or they can be closed. And so what closed groups mean is maybe only a certain amount of people can get in. Maybe it's for a fixed amount of time. So I recommend if you're struggling with any kind of mental health or chronic health issue, or you care about somebody who has a chronic issue, look at the group list and look at the topics that they have, because you might really find somebody that you connect with through this group that helps you through this. Okay. Another thing to do is to reduce boredom and isolation. So plan ahead, do some planning. The more distracted you are, the better that's going to help you with your own boredom and isolation. So if you know ahead of time, you're not going to be able to be with people for the holidays, plan ahead so you have something to look forward to. Maybe you know that you can't be with your family for Christmas because they can't travel. Plan ahead. Maybe New Year's Eve was a big celebration for you. You be active. You find something to do. You find something to be distracted by. You pick up a new activity, pick up a new event, read a new book, find something. But you want to have a pleasurable distraction to help you plan ahead. Because if you don't plan ahead and you're not doing anything, then those thinking traps will happen, and you're just going to keep thinking about the past or thinking about something bad, and that's not going to help you. So be active, be aware. Maybe sometimes this is a big trigger for you. Maybe you haven't done anything in the past for holidays and you're very sad about that. Well, that's okay. That was the past. You can't go back and change time in the past, but you control what you do today. You control whether or not you plan something. Maybe you go on Meetup and you start an online group. Maybe that's something you do. You have control over that. So think about that. How do you reduce your isolation? Plan ahead. Okay. So here is some additional resources. A lot of the information on communication skills and on different sources of social support came from this free social connection planner from the Wellness Society. So when you go, this is being recorded. If you go to the Thousand Oaks website, I believe it's www.toaks.com/seniors. This is going to be posted, and hopefully you can click on the link and open it up. But this is a free planner. It has a lot of information about social groups. I'm going to warn you that this is based in the United Kingdom, so maybe some of the resources in there are not applicable to here in the United States, but many of them are. So check it out. I also wanted to call attention to some helplines. There are a lot of different helplines in the community. Many of them are open 24/7. So if you're finding that you're feeling really alone, or you're triggered, or you're struggling with a specific issue, or you're concerned about something, call. Call any day, anytime. This might be a good opportunity for you to practice some of these skills we've talked about. Maybe you practice some of the communication skills we're doing, asking questions. Maybe you can use some of these conversation starters. Here's another page of helplines for you to think about. Okay, and then here is the references for my speakers. So you can click on some of these links and then they'll open up. So if you want to know more information about the loneliness epidemic, or you want to look at some of the research I mentioned, you can come up. Okay, so sorry I finished 5 minutes early, but we can go to the question and answer if you like.
That was so informative. Thank you so much, Carla. So I know that we probably have several questions, and I know that I had several points that I wrote down, but I wanted to open up to the commissioners and see if there's anyone that has any questions. And if you can just raise your hand, I'll go ahead and call on you. Yes, Commissioner Posta.
Yes, thank you. That was an excellent presentation. But I've got to say, there's so much more there that you put me make me know about that I don't know where to start. You know, myriad of different ways to overcome loneliness. But can you pick, if I wanted to start, or a very lonely person, what would be the 3 best things for them to start of that tremendous potpourri?
Yeah. So I would start with like proximity, right? So start with your community. Depending on where you live, like try to connect with someone you see. Maybe you take some baby steps, right? So maybe it just starts off with you walking around your building, walking around your neighborhood and smiling, right? Maybe it just starts there, right? And then the next step, right, to move up from there is then you smile and you introduce yourself, right? So, hi, my name is Carla, and then maybe step 3 is you introduce yourself, give your contact information, and ask for their contact information. So having taking these step-by-step routines. And I think that would be like a basic platform to start with, but you can do that in any setting. So if you're living in an assisted living, maybe you're doing it with the staff that works there, right? So give yourself like 3 small tasks that feel achievable, right? Within any setting that you're in, right? Because if you think about the enormity of how complex relationships can be, it can be overwhelming. So just take baby steps. What do you feel comfortable with? Some people are very social, but they just don't have opportunities. So then maybe for you, those 3 steps are going to 3 different places and being social.
Great advice. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question for Carla? Yes, Commissioner Sylvester.
Really more of a comment, maybe a suggestion for others. Something that really resonated with me was when you talked about practicing gratitude, because I think we all get caught up in how terrible this pandemic has been in our own particular situation. I didn't see 2 of my kids for Thanksgiving, whatever it may be. So I think it's helpful to focus on the good. I did see 1 of my kids, or think about the things you're grateful for, and that realizing that other people may have even less. So I think the suggestion would be looking at opportunities to help others, whether it's volunteering or writing letters to people who are more isolated than you are. So I think that might be a way, to sort of understand better how you're feeling, as well as how to apply it and help yourself and others. So otherwise, I thought that was an excellent presentation. Mm-hmm. Quite a lot in there. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Belding, then Commissioner Williams.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Carla. I actually took a lot of notes and I found it to be profoundly interesting. And along the lines also of like what Karen said, I think the idea of the gratitude that you brought up is a really big one. I found myself in line at the post office yesterday and I wound up, because I am not a very shy person, engaging with a lot of people in line. And I got everybody involved in a big conversation about the gratitude, including things like how beautiful the day was and how happy we were for, little things in those. I'm actually surprised we didn't all go out and have an outdoor event somewhere because it was really wonderful. And it only takes a tiny little step. It actually wound up being the best part of my day. So I guess that's where that came, is it wound up serving me really well. So that's my comment.
Commissioner Williamson, Commissioner Janelle.
And I'd also like to point out that what has really helped me living alone is volunteer work, getting out and helping other people, being able to talk to them, being useful. And another thing that has really been a change for me is getting to know my neighbors. They have been so helpful to me, and I appreciate so much that they care about me and the fact that I'm by myself, and that once in a while I do need something. So especially volunteering and getting to know your neighbors is something that I feel is so important when you're alone.
Commissioner Janelle.
Presentation was wonderful. One of the things I thought about is I'm one of those people that, like Stephanie, might talk to people in line. And sometimes it really brightens the day. And one of the things that I specifically paid attention to during the election, there were long lines in a lot of states. And I heard several stories where people got to talking, because first of all, they were physically distant, but they ended up getting to talk. And there was a few times where I heard that they called out for pizza, because some of these places had lines for long hours. They called out for pizza, and a whole group of the people that were in line who'd never met each other were sharing pizza while they waited to vote. And so I grew up, my mom talked to strangers, even though she told us not to. And so I think I learned about, I talk to people in line. And sometimes it's the stories you come up with or things that happen are pretty funny, and that you leave wherever you are kind of in a better mood than when you got in there, because you were kind of focused on what you were going to buy in the store. You're really not talking to anybody, and then you're stuck in line, and then all of a sudden you say one thing. You could say it's a nice day today or whatever, and you end up having a conversation with people on both sides of you. So, but the pizza thing at the election made me laugh, but it was, and it probably, who knows, those people are probably still getting together once a month or something like that. They'll probably still do that. So it is important just to reach out.
Anyone else? Well, I have to say, Carla, that was excellent. And the part that I appreciate most about what you had to say was the tips about how to empower people to maybe think in a different way. And I know I had a mentor early on in my career that said something really profound to me that made me really stop and think about my feelings. And that is that feelings change. So just because I'm feeling, not in the best mood right now, doesn't mean that, later on in the week, I might feel completely different, because there is an elasticity around the way that you feel. And every time that I am kind of in that stuck place, I kind of go back to that thinking that, okay, this is what I'm thinking now, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be feeling that, in an hour or by the end of the day. And that gives me brings me back to that sense of controlling how I'm feeling and how it helps me to kind of move past. Because I think sometimes when you're in the depths of those feelings, you think that it's forever. And the idea that it's not forever is really empowering for me. So I really want to thank you for all of the tips. I know that I wrote down a lot, especially about social media. I found that by taking control of my social media and just, creating it so that it has things that are of interest to me. Like I like to embroider. So I put a lot of embroidering stuff, or I like, stuff about cooking. So I make it everything that is gonna make me feel happy about, about me, about what, that's going to be educational as well. So a lot of things to think about. I like your thought about the art classes. I also follow the Getty Museum, so they do a lot of stuff. The Broad definitely has a lot of stuff. The Smithsonian does things. It's just really, I've been so grateful to not have to go in my car and have the opportunity to see everything, via Zoom or YouTube or something, but it's really expanded, my, horizon. So thank you, Carla. I really, really appreciate it. I know that our community appreciates it as well. So anyone else, any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, Commissioner Bluell.
I was thinking that one of the things that was most important to me that I saw in your talk was the fact that you were talking about planning and have a planning guide so that you give the people something to look forward to tomorrow. And I think that so many of these that it just sticks into my head that they live day to day, and they don't have a plan for this week or next week. And the fact that they have an actual planner to a document to give them some guidance or a way to just move forward. Well, I think one of the strongest things that you said from my perspective, and very narrow, but to give them something to look forward to tomorrow, and to be able to see that their life does not go end day after one day at a time, that they have a dimension that says you don't have to just stop with today. Start thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow and next week and next month. Get into long-term plan, short-term, but then also long-term planning. And so I thought your perspective on that was particularly powerful, because I think that is, it's my perspective. But I'm old, so I'm thinking about my perspective. I am thinking, what am I going to do next week? Am I going to teach again next trimester? Or should I just go and sit in the rocking chair? Mm-hmm. So I paid attention because that was the one that resonated most with me. So from my perspective, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
So if there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on with our agenda. And that is item number 6 on our agenda is liaison reports. So at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Belding to announce the liaison and agency reports.
Thank you, Chair Guerra. Item number 6 is liaison and agency reports. So besides addressing City Council on related issues and items to seniors, the Commission serves as liaison to various local senior agencies. And I will call on each commissioner to provide updates. Item A is the Global Adult Community Center, and Commissioner Posta is our liaison to the GACC and coordinates the updates. Commissioner Posta, would you like to introduce this section for our meeting?
Well, sure, I'd love to. Am I off? I guess I'm on. Yeah, we have Patty Ham here, who's the director at the center, and she's going to give us an update as to the wonderful things that are happening still at the Global despite the virus. Go, Patty.
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you.
Good. So December, we have some really fun things planned. Two special events we're gonna do 3, but 2 special events we're gonna do for the holidays is Let's Get Ugly and Play Bingo. And that's gonna be a parking lot bingo event. People play in their cars and tune their radio station to the number that we give them, and they'll hear the calls for the numbers on their radio, and they'll play bingo in their cars safely, social distance. And also within that is the ugly part of it is there will be an ugly sweater contest. So if you come and you wear your ugly sweater to play bingo in your car, then you might win a prize. We will
What's
also
the date on that?
That is going to be December the 8th, next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And it's $10 per person, and we will be providing lunch as well. And you can sign up by calling the center at 805-381-2744. And then the other event we're going to have is pancakes in your pajamas.
Oh,
And that's going to be a outdoor dining, a breakfast. And if you come in your pajamas, then there might be a little goodie for you as well. I will be in my pajamas. I have the perfect holiday pajamas for the event. And that is on December 14th, 9 a.m., $10 per person. And you can sign up by calling us here at the center, 805-381-2744. And of course, you're going to enjoy as many pancakes as you want, as well as other yummy breakfast items and some holiday cheer.
Patty, how
We are doing, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. I was going to move on to the next thing. So did you have a question about these two events?
Yes, on the bingo, how many rounds of bingo is it?
10 games.
Wow. Okay.
10
And then we meet just in the front of the Global Center. And
yeah, you'll drive in, and we'll let you know where you can park, and we're going to park cars every other spot. And it'll be in front of the front parking lot. We're going to do it this time.
okay. And do you have a limit of how many people can attend?
I think we're going to put the limit at 50.
50. Okay. And do you have, so is
50
there still-
cars. 50
I'm sorry.
cars.
Yes, but there's obviously, there's still enough spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
great.
plenty of
That
space,
sounds like
and we just ask that whoever is in the car, that they live in the same household. And then we decided that we need to say goodbye to 2020, and we're going to also have an "Oh dear, what a year" parking lot bingo game New Year's Eve, December 31st at 11:30. It's going to be a little bit earlier because we are going to provide lunch then too, but we're also going to mimic a New Year's countdown around noon instead of midnight for that event as well. But you don't have to wear an ugly sweater or anything. It's just come to celebrate the new year and play bingo and eat some good lunch. We do have some seminars. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steph.
Oh, I have a question. Can you, if you want to bring a family member in your car for the bingo, do they have to be a senior?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Yeah. Our Zoom seminars that we have in December, we have a nutrition counseling that's being presented by Teresa Diaz from BC AAA, dietitian from the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging. She'll be doing a Zoom meeting on Tuesday, December 8th from 8:30 to 11 a.m. And on December 9th, Wednesday, from 1 to 1:30, Comfort Keepers will be presenting Be a Comfort Keeper Caregiver, and let anyone who's interested know how they go about being a caregiver, a paid caregiver for a senior. Living Within Your Means is on Tuesday, December 8th, 1:30 to 2:30. That's being presented by BC AAA. It's a financial workshop for seniors. And that is it.
Well, thank you very much, Patty, one thing that let's get ugly. Are we allowed to come who are already ugly? So that we don't have to get ugly?
The uglier, the better, John.
Yes, we go. And this thing about, I really think you all show up for that pajama party because you're going to be surprised to see what Patty's wearing with her jammies. She always comes up with great costumes for all these great events. Thank you very much. And it looks like we're still there at the Global Center, aren't we?
Yeah. Staff is still here. Unfortunately, we have limited seniors with our senior nutrition program every day, drive-through style. And we do have some volunteers that are sewing groups and knitters. We have them outside in limited basis, still being able to volunteer.
That's great.
Commissioner Janelle,
Keep
did
up
you
the
have a
good work.
question for Patty?
Just a comment. I liked your theme for "Oh dear, what a year." I have a lot of friends that probably would use a little bit stronger language, but to see this year go out. But thank you for putting a nice touch to it.
Yes, of course. We always have to be positive.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Posta, and thank you, Patty, so much. I am always amazed by how creative you guys are, and we really look forward to so many things that you put together at the Global. I'm always blown away.
Well, thank you. It's our pleasure. We care deeply about the seniors in our community, and we always want to make sure that we provide for them. And even during the pandemic, it's been a bit of a challenge to think out of the box of things we can do. But you know what? A challenge is fun sometimes, right?
It is. So thank you guys both very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, item B is the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program. And Commissioner Williams coordinates updates for us with that. Commissioner Williams, do you have some new updates for us?
For me. Okay.
Oh, you're muted.
Yes, sorry. Julie Sander reporting is really sorry that she couldn't be here, but she is very busy right now. And I hope all of you are able to do tomorrow to go to the Outdoor Holiday Boutique, which is going to be at the Global Center. The people who are involved in this have been working so hard to get it organized. They went to the place where they store everything and got the most beautiful handcrafted goods and homemade items and jewelry and cards and things that you can use for gifts for people, which will be very reasonably priced and will be so important because this money that is raised of course, goes back to the Global Center. There will be strictly rules about how you can stand in line and so you'll have to wear your masks, of course, but it's from 10 to 2, December 4th and December 3rd. So both of those days, there will be people there to assist you. You will only be able to pay by cash or check. So if you're planning to use a credit card, you won't be able to. So go to the bank first and get lots of money because they really want you to spend money. And the weather should be lovely. So I think that's going to be a big help. Let's hope the wind doesn't come up too much. They've already handed out all the ornaments for the Standard to Senior program. So if you didn't get one, it's too late. And that means that it was a very, very good program and people were very happy to be able to buy a gift for seniors. Don't forget the Wellness Center on January 13th, 2021. There won't be any vendors or anything like that this year, but there will be 300 free lunches and you'll be handed out 40 vendor goodie bags and you'll drive through. And I'm sure that they'll set up different places where you can maybe stop and get information. And this is something that if you're in a group would like to do some kind of fundraiser also, I think they are accepting that. So be sure to let Julie know if that's the case. The food share program in this area is very important also. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Thousand Oaks is taking over the pop-up food distribution, but they need a lot of volunteers to help. So if you are able to help with that, they would really appreciate help setting up, getting names, staffing the entrance and the exit, putting boxes of food into trunks of cars, and traffic control, and then helping clean up afterwards. It happens rain or shine, wind or no wind. So it's very important. And if you want to, just go to https://foodshare.com/volunteer and offer your time. They would really appreciate it. It starts at 1 o'clock and ends at 2. So it's not a real long time that you have to be tied up. But remember, if you're lonely, this is one way you could get to know a lot of people. You have to wear casual clothes, closed-toe shoes, a hat, and your own water bottle are highly recommended. And a face mask, of course, and they'll give you gloves if you need them. So this is labor intensive. You will either need to be able to pick up a 20-pound box or stand for a period of time. So if you want to do this, let Julie know, and she'd be happy to turn on the information to them. And as you know, there are lots of people right now who are really needing food. It's really, they've been so difficult for some of the people in our area. So this is a wonderful cause. So that's all for now. So thank you very much. And remember, volunteering is one way of being less lonely.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Williams. I want to just share really fast that I last year did go to the holiday boutique, and I went both days. I spent a lot of money doing it, but there are so many handcrafted things that are made by the seniors. They're really appreciated by everyone that I gave those gifts to. I mean, it was really outstanding. So thank you so much for reminding me about that date. And item C on our agenda is the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging, or VCAAA. Commissioner Posta is also our liaison to the VCAAA. So Commissioner Posta, do you have some fun things for us today?
Well, thank you, Stephanie. Well, fun. I'm just telling you what's available out there, and it's tremendous. What the VCAAA has been, they've been very busy lately. We'll hold on that slide. You know, volunteers at the VCAAA have helped deliver special Thanksgiving meals for the most vulnerable populations in Ventura County. More than 150 volunteers from across the community and from county agencies helped with the effort. Nearly 1,000 deliveries and a total of 3,000 meals were provided. Along with the meals, each recipient received a homemade holiday greeting card. The cards were received as a part of the Ventura County Agency on Aging Holiday Greetings campaign. Nearly 1,000 cards were received from children and adults alike from throughout the county that were delivered. To date, VCAAA has provided 2.5 million meals to those in need. The effort has been in partnership with the Great Plates program that partners restaurants in the effort to help provide delicious meals to the most vulnerable homebound seniors in our county. Not bad. Here's a sampling of some of our current programs. Our food and supply, as you can see from this slide, the pantry is now open. The pantry is for VC residents who are over 60 years old and people with disabilities, even if they were younger. 2 weeks of food will be provided free. Such a deal. Delivery only. If you're in need, contact us at the numbers you see there, 805-477-7300. Or you could go to the website, lois.vcaa@ventura.org. We want to help you. Next slide, please. You need some counseling on anything: transportation, housing, health, food, legal, anything. We're here to help you again. We got lots and lots of services. If you have need at all, please do contact us at same numbers again. Write them down, copy them, 805-477-7300, or at the site lois.vcAAA@ventura.org. You also can contact us through our senior support hotline anytime, day or night, 800-235-9980. Next slide, please. This is the county areas agency on aging that has an eatfresh.org mini course. This is to help you with healthy eating programs. Patty Ham mentioned it earlier. I'll just re-mention it, if you will. It's too late for the November classes, but there's still some December classes you can get into, and they're on the December 8th, 15th, and 22nd. They're held weekly from 1 to 1:45 p.m. Very worthwhile with the tremendous amount of information they provide. To register, you can call 805-406-8332 or email a dietitian.realfood@ventura.org. I know you don't have copies of this information or the flyers, but if you do want to view this presentation again, the PowerPoint is on our website, which is www.toaks.org/seniors. You can contact that site anytime you want to, because again, there's a wealth of information that is available to you and anybody else, any friends, relatives who you think might be able best to avail themselves of the support that we offer. Please do contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners, for your valuable sharing for us and your input. And I'll turn the meeting back over to Chair Guerra.
Item number 7 on our agenda is commissioner reports. The Council on Aging researches a number of items of interest to seniors throughout the year. I will introduce commissioners who will provide current updates. So item 7A is online education, and that's Commissioner Janelle. Can you give the report, please? I believe you're on mute.
Thank you, Commissioner Guerra. I do not have a PowerPoint, but I'm going to give the information to Patricia so that it can be posted on our social media. I have a bunch of links. So I wanted to just make people aware of some of the things that are available locally. One of them is at Cal Lutheran University. It's their 50 and Better program. It started just earlier in January this year. Right now, all of their classes and things are online. They have a lecture series that the individual lectures cost $8, and some upcoming subjects are on the Alan Sherman, who did parodies, art, Ethiopia, Bach, Frank Lloyd Wright. They also have a lecture series. They're usually 6-week sessions, 2 hours each, once a week. And they run about $35. And they also have an addition for some of the classes called a seminar, which is a smaller group that meets with the instructor of that course, like the day after the lecture. And some upcoming subjects are women artists, women architects, American life through Broadway musicals, vaudeville and burlesque, the Cold War. So a lot of good subjects there. These things will be starting in January. So I have a link and we'll put that up. Another one is the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, and that's through Cal State Channel Islands. And all of these places will have in-person classes when it's safe to do so. And I'm hoping that some of them will continue to do the virtual even when they go back to in-person, because people that don't go out or don't drive, I'm hoping that they'll do this, because my husband actually teaches on some of these, and the Zoom classes have worked very well. But the Osher Institute, otherwise known as OLLI, OLLI, they usually have 6 to 8 week classes. Their winter list is not quite up yet, but past classes have included about various artists, a detailed discussion about the Bible, movies made in Ventura County, music history, etc. There is the Savvy Seniors through the Calabasas Senior Center, and you don't have to be a resident of Calabasas to participate. And they also have a lot of classes on history, painting, art, music history. There's like about 70 or 80 different classes, history of Europe, a whole bunch of different subjects. And my husband taught a class there, and he had somebody from Florida and from several other states. So this is something that anybody can join, participate in. Pierce College also has a program called Encore, and they're mostly free non-credit classes catering to the needs of older adults. And they're, even self-awareness, subjects about aging, physical growth, community engagement, and then there's also history and music and all of those kinds of things. SMATO, the California Museum of Art, Thousand Oaks, that's at the Oaks Mall. They have had some virtual art shows, and they even have a family art day coming up that you could participate with grandchildren. One of the things that I've done during this pandemic is check out your favorite museum that you used to go to in person, because a lot of them are having virtual tours. A lot of them have lectures. Sometimes they're live on Facebook. I happen to be interested in Holocaust history, and I have listened to a lot of lectures just through the the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. They have like a 45-minute talk, like every other week or something. And so a lot of the museums are doing that. And they're doing a lot of the virtual things. So that's something to check out per your interest. Some entertaining things that are coming up. Virtually, Hillcrest Center for the Arts has a stand-up comedy show that's on December 12th, and you can drive in and do it with your car, or you can do it on Zoom. We already heard about a lot of the things going on at the Goebel Center, and a couple of concerts coming up. Five Star Theatricals, who does a lot of the Broadway shows at the Civic Arts Plaza, has a holiday concert. It's an outdoor car concert on December 13th by the lakes. And they'll have a lot of their performers that have been there over the years doing holiday songs. And Caneo Players is also having a drive-in, their holiday spectacular drive-in theater over the weekend of December 11th through 13th. They have several shows. And again, that will be a celebration with seasonal songs. And you are in your car and listen to a radio station that they give you. And I have attended a couple of their outdoor concerts, and it's not so bad sitting in your car listening on the radio. So there's a lot to do, and I hope people take advantage of them.
Thank you, Commissioner Janelle. I've participated in the OLLI program through UCLA, and they have the OLLI program and the Osher program both have a really varied, courses that they offer. And I've taken literature courses. I've taken the history of the Louvre. I've taken conversational Spanish class, and I'm really looking forward this spring to start taking some OLLI classes or Osher classes through Channel Islands. The courses and the professors are really amazing, and it's wonderful to be able to not have to drive. And the students were from all over the world. I had students from Canada that were in my class, from Costa Rica, from the East Coast. So it's really an amazing opportunity if you like if you like, that the education part, which I really appreciated. So
one thing about the OLLI program at Cal State Channel Islands, they used to have it just on the campus of Cal State Channel Islands, but in the last few years, they've had several locations, including in Samato at the Oaks Mall. They had them at one of the middle schools in town. So they've had a number of their courses in buildings in the Conejo Valley. So because getting to the campus of Cal State Channel Islands can be a little bit of a drive. And so they've had a lot of classes just locally in places here. And, hopefully sometime in 2021, they'll be back in those places. But for now, the virtual classes are working well.
yeah, I like the virtual classes myself. So
you can sit in whatever clothes you feel like at the moment.
Yes.
Don't have to worry about it. So I'll get this information to Patty and we'll get it posted so that people can check them out. But there's a lot of good stuff coming up. And my husband's teaching a couple of them, but I'm not biased.
So moving on, item 8 on our agenda is commissioner comments. This is the portion of our meeting where commissioners can provide announcements in which no action or discussion by the commission will be taken. So at this time, are there any commissioner comments? And just let me know by raising your hand. Yes, Commissioner Bluell and then Commissioner Belding. Commissioner Bluell, you're on mute. You need to take yourself off mute, Commissioner Bluell.
I do this all the time, unfortunately. I just wanted to remind everybody that we have a meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. And I think everybody's going to show up. I hope. Am I speaking to the right people?
So we can talk about, so no, that's not on the agenda. But thank you, Commissioner Bluell.
You mean there is no meeting tonight at 8 o'clock?
So right now that's not on the agenda to speak on, but we can talk. We can discuss that afterwards.
I don't know what that means, but I'll sit here and listen.
Okay. Anyway, okay, Commissioner Belding.
Well, I just have a quick comment. Since so many people brought up museums today and doing virtual museums, the most exciting thing I found about museums online during this pandemic, and I think it's the Getty. If anybody is interested, I'll get the actual museum for you. But they have people and families reenacting famous artwork from the museum. And people use vegetables and their pets and, buttons and bows and just all kinds of wonderful materials to recreate, paintings that we've all loved that have been around for 1,000 years. So I just think it's a really fun thing to do. And it gets you doing something active and you're participating with the museum. Then they post them. They post the pictures.
Okay, well, if no one else has any comments, I just wanted to take this opportunity, since this is our last meeting before the new year. I wanted to thank you, really wanted to thank the community for the generosity of everyone here in Thousand Oaks who during such a challenging year volunteered to help get meals out to our homebound seniors, supported our first responders in our hospitals, helped to keep our most vulnerable safe by wearing a mask and social distancing. So thank you to all who continue to support also the Council on Aging and our efforts to advance the needs of seniors. So on to a healthy and vibrant new year, and we can say goodbye to 2020. But before we adjourn, Commissioner Posta, did you have a comment? You need to unmute.
Yeah, in conclusion to 2020, goodbye and good luck. But, these are tough times and we got to hang in there. We've weathered 9 months of this, and we're in the home stretch now.
Yes.
And there's light at the end of the tunnel. Keep your chin up, have a happy holiday season, and we'll see you next year.
Okay, before we adjourn this meeting, I have a few reminders. So just a moment here. So if you would like information about the Council on Aging or have questions about the agenda items discussed, please call 805-381-7362. You can email us at councilonaging@thousandokstoaks.org. Our website is www.toaks.org/seniors. And social media, we hope that you like and or follow us at Thousand Oaks Council on Aging, and those are both of our accounts on Facebook and Twitter. And with that, there being no further business to come before the commission, the Council on Aging meeting is adjourned to our next regular meeting, which is on Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. Thank you, everyone, and happy holidays.
Bye.